Oh, wow. I went on quickly. I went to have a little drink to get prepared, but here I am. It's Jack Kelly with Let's Go Live with Jack Kelly, but with a little twist. This is kind of the new segment we're trying out, which is the future of work, the future of jobs, where what I'm going to try to do is bring to your attention, hey, where are these trends going? What's good for your career? Should you pivot to a different industry? Should you reinvent yourself? Everything is how can you make the best of this environment? How can you improve? And today, it's really something different too. It's what you have to watch out for. Should have some ominous music after that, right? Like dun dun dun. What you have to watch out for. So it's Friday. I'm gonna say it's Friday because let's be frank, it's not really Friday, but Thursday going into July 4th weekend, we're kind of done, right? I mean, I'm hoping everybody watches this because why are you going to bother working? That's it. You deserve a break. You need time off. You need to relax. So this is a good way to ease into it. What I want to talk about today is this: the trend is the consensus amongst most companies that have reported their back to work plans is to have a hybrid work model. And you're probably very familiar with it, probably too familiar with you, tired of hearing about it. With the hybrid model, really just what it means and what companies are doing, like Google, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, is that you're going to be in the office 2 or 3 days a week, and then the rest you're going to be at home. Also, you're going to find a whole lot of people who are just going to be at home. There's studies saying like 1 in 3, 1 in 4 people, if you can't work remotely, they're saying, I'm out of here. I'm not going to stay. And it makes sense because think about it, after a year and a half of working remotely, not having to commute back and forth to a city, not having all the expenses related to commuting, why would you want to go back? Now, some do, and it makes sense. Like I would tell my kids if they were starting out as a young person to probably go at least 3 or 4 days a week because you want to learn what it's like. You want to meet new people. You want to socialize. You want to build a network. So there are a lot of reasons to be there, but there are a lot of reasons not to be. Now, here's what I want to do for today. I got to tell you this. You might think, okay, you know what? It's not too great that I have to go back 2 and 3 days. If I got to do it, I got to do it. It might be better just to work all remote. You're going to have to find a way. You're going to have to advocate for yourself because I think how these things are going to play out is that some managers are going to want you in the office. Some managers may not. Some companies, like a lot of Wall Street firms, are pushing people to get back into work and get in the office. A lot of tech companies aren't. So it's not all one and the same. You have to find out for yourself what's the best style of work that works well for you. And then you have to advocate for that. Let me give you an example. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. So yesterday, I had the pleasure of speaking with this really badass, woman. Her name is Cher Scarlett, and she's a software developer in Apple. And I wrote a Forbes piece interviewing her and talking about what she is going through with Apple. So Apple, like a lot of companies, great company, awesome, terrific. Um, I used to be Samsung phone guy, but my family all made me go and put peer pressure on me to have Apple products, and now I love them. I'm all aboard. So what happened is they had a hybrid model. Right? So far, so good. 2, 3 days in, a group of people, including Cher, wrote a letter to Tim Cook, who's the CEO, saying, "Hey, this isn't fair. Many of us signed up when we joined the company as remote workers, and some of us don't even work anywhere near, the office. And now it's kind of changing the game on us." And then for some people, like Cher, who is very, and I give her so much credit because not a lot of people are brave enough to stand up and talk about their own personal situation, but then also fight for all their coworkers and colleagues. So what she was telling me and what I wrote about, and you can check out the article, is that she is open about having various mental health issues and she feels comfortable now talking about it. And I think as a society, generally, we feel comfortable talking about it. Never used to be that way, but I think it's really healthy to do. And for her, having bipolar disorder, some other disorders, it's really tough to do that long commute. The anxiety, the stress, it just doesn't work well with the way she's wired. And being a single mom, it makes it even tougher because you have to juggle work, your child, their schooling, the commute, and it's overwhelming. So working remotely, particularly in certain jobs like being a software engineer, where you don't have to have a lot of interaction all day long, you could do it. So she was part of this group that penned a letter. Then Apple was saying, sorry, we're going to hold firm. We're going to be more restrictive in terms of who could work remote and who cannot. And we're going to do this hybrid. Now, on face value, that does seem fair, right? It does seem kind of fair that you're going to ease people back into the office. You're not asking them 5 days a week. You're giving them two or three. But I think what's happening now, and I've talked about this with the other, future of work LinkedIn Lives, is that we're in a different world now. I think the pandemic and the is an era that changed everything. It's a cliche to say it accelerated all the trends. So I'm not going to say it, even though I just did say it, but we'll pretend I didn't say it. So it's made a big difference in the way we think about things. It opened our eyes. If we had a conversation a year and a half ago, 2 years ago about remote work, hybrid work, remote work, it's no one would listen, no one care. It would be weird. You know, let's be frank. There are a lot of people who used to work at home, but it wasn't common. So when you would see it, you're still like, why is that happening? Now people are fighting to do it. So for yourself, you have to think, all right, we have this hybrid work schedule. Does this work for me? Does this make sense? And just because now the company is saying you have to do it, you have to wonder, is it right for me? So, so Cher stood up for herself and spoke to her manager. And imagine how, and listen, it's really uncomfortable. So I'm not going to pretend this is easy because she spoke with her manager and she was very open about her mental health issues, being a single mom, not knowing how you could do the commute because they're really where she lives, you can't even commute to there. So you have to relocate. But how do you relocate if you don't have the money to go get a house or apartment? Now, software developers pay well, but depends, pay well if you live in a very expensive place like San Francisco, Silicon Valley, or New York with taxes, apartment, homes, cars. Well, you can make a decent salary and still not have a whole lot of money. And for people who've bought homes and who've moved, there's a lot of costs involved. So she's very brave to stand up for herself and stand up for her colleagues to say, hey, this doesn't seem too fair. Could we work something out? Can we make accommodations? And it takes a lot of courage to do that because now you're sharing with, they're not strangers, they're managers and supervisors, but for all intents and purposes, they kind of are. And you're giving personal information to them, which is very bold to do. And this is what I would suggest that you have to start thinking about your own career, that you have to figure out what works best for yourself. What do you feel comfortable doing? What do you feel is on the spectrum of what is right and fair and what when you feel you're being taken advantage of? Do you have a job that you can work from remote? Do you have a job that it makes more sense to work remote? Do you have young children? Do you have a sick relative? Is there some, maybe other reasons why you can't go in? You want to talk to your boss about it. It's an uncomfortable, I'm not going to pretend. It's an uncomfortable conversation. It's going to be a weird conversation, but it's something that has to be done. The 2 and 3 days a week, you may also figure it doesn't make sense in that um, person who I spoke with, and I want to name him because I'm not sure if I'll blow up his spot, but really, sometimes when you talk to someone and they tell you and the light bulb goes on and you're like, duh, It makes so much sense, but you didn't think about it. He's telling me, hey, Jack, you know what? I've started to come back to the office a couple of days a week, but it's ridiculous. I'm coming from Long Island, getting on the train, getting up early, getting on the train, going in, getting into the city, then get off the train, have to take another train or an Uber to get to the office. You get to the office, and then you look around, and like, wait, the people who I would need to interact with and collaborate with aren't here. So what do? Then you do Zoom calls from the office, taking an hour and a half to get to the office to have Zoom calls with people who are home. And then you think, why was this necessary? So then you can stay till 5:30 at night, 6 o'clock at night, take the train home for another hours and change. And you're exhausted because if you do the commute every day is exhausting. But if you don't do the commute every day and then you do it from scratch, you're wiped out. So now you're wiped out and then you got to do it again. Now, some people are going to be like, oh, boo hoo hoo, that's terrible. You know what? You're a rotten person if you say that. No, you're not a bad person. I understand. For everybody, it's relative. You know what I mean? For somebody, it's like big deal. I get it. Some people have such hard, like my brother, one of my brothers-in-law, he has a job. He's fixing buses. So when 100 degrees in the summer, he's there with these big wrenches, working on all the parts of the buses. In the winter, it's freezing. I get it. People have really tough jobs, and when they hear about white collar folks whining about their stuff, they're like, yeah, boo hoo hoo hoo. I get it, but you know what? For everybody, it's important. You can't say for one person, oh, big deal, and for someone else, these are important issues for people's lives. So if you go in the office and you look around and you realize, wait, the people who I'm supposed to interact with aren't here. It makes sense for you to go to your manager and say, hey, manager, why am I coming in here? I don't mind coming in. Maybe let's say you don't mind. Maybe you want to. I don't mind coming in, but why are you making me come in when nobody is in the office that's relevant for me? That's one of the things that Chair brought up. She goes into the office and the work is done international. So she ends up going to the office, and if anything has to communicate, it's with China or another part of the U.S. or wherever. Same thing. So why is this necessary? And you know what? I'm not even saying that the companies are bad people for doing it. I think this is kind of a new rollout. Not think it is a new rollout. We haven't done this before, where we went from completely remote. Now we're bringing people back in, but bringing people back in stages, bringing people back in 2, 3 days a week, maybe, and it looks like that's going to stay for a while. So they're just learning on the fly too. Now, to be fair, some companies probably are very heavy-handed and just going to say you have to do this. That's it. Others are going to be more open-minded, but you don't know until you ask. So if you find yourself in that spot where you're going in 2, 3 days a week and there seems to be no reason for it, then I think you're well within your rights, to say, hey, this doesn't make sense. Can we make it? Can I just stay remote? Or if you want to go in, can we work something out that I come in or we coordinate that I'm in with the people we need so I could be the most productive when I'm there? Another thing to look for now, remote work, there's a lot. I think if we took a survey, I'm guesstimating 80% of the people say, I want remote work. Great. Maybe even more. There's pitfalls to remote work as well. For instance, I was writing about that. You could see a dual class caste system arise where the people in the office and the people at home. Now think about this for a second. If you have, now I gave an example where you come in and you don't know the people there, but think about it. You come into the office and let's say now, because it's 2 or 3 days a week, you're only at maybe 20, 30, 40% capacity. And then in your particular division, your particular unit, I don't know, maybe it'd be 10 people, 20 people, 30, let's say 50 people. When you have 10 to 20 to 50 people, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to have this bonding thing going on. You're going to have this esprit de corps. You're going to have this like, hey, how was it the last year? I literally haven't seen you in a year plus. What's going on? Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Oh, what's happening with you? And it's going to be this really cool vibe. Let's say, hey, let's all go out for lunch together. You know what? let's go out for dinner. Have you been vaccinated? Yeah, I have. So yeah, let's go out to eat. And you can have this really fun experience where everybody's going through this shared thing, this hopefully once in a generation thing. And this is fantastic. And you're going to get these bonds. Now, let's say the managers are there. Let's say the CEO is there and he or she is just walking around saying hi to everybody. And you get in front of him or her. Let's say top executives are there. Think about it. You're going to have access that the people who are at home don't have access to. Over time, think how that's going to sway managers and bosses, what they're going to do and say and think, and what is that going to mean for your promotions? What's that going to mean for raises? What's that going to mean for further career progression? You know the expression out of sight, out of mind. This is a perfect case of that. So if you're working remotely, what I would suggest you do, you have to make sure you're on everybody's radar. You can't fall off the radar screen because they'll forget you're there. And again, I'm not saying this because they're bad people. It's just human nature. Human nature is that if you're in the office and you see these 5, 10, 20 people around you, it's very easy to say, hey, Mike, come over here. Can we have a quick meeting? Hey, Christine, Nadi, let's put our heads together. Let's discuss this. It's easier to do that than to all of a sudden go, oh, let me look at my schedule. Where's Jane today? I think she's a digital nomad and she's in California, maybe, or no, maybe she's in Europe. And wait, where's Joe? Joe, is he in today? Not where? It's just too involved. Then you have to start getting, okay, let's do a Zoom call. So everybody go to your own respective offices and desks. And then we're going to call June and Sally and Bob and Bill and, Tony, whatever. That's cumbersome. Do you think it's more likely, is it more likely that if you have a small group that the big boss is calling you all together, right? Do you think the big boss and everybody's going to say, no, wait, no, we can't have this meeting. We have to get 20 other people on this call who are distributed everywhere. Or let's just get this done. We could have this meeting in 10 minutes. Let's get it done. Or it could take an hour and a half to get a hold of everybody. And how do you know you're going to get a hold of everybody? And it's just going to be a mess. Right? It's a rhetorical question because you know the answer. The answer is that it's whoever is there, whoever is in front of you, that's going to be on who's you're on their mind. You're that person. They know who you are. They see your work. They see you every day. And unless you're a big jerk and a pain in the butt, if they see you every day and you're putting in a good work and you're working hard and you're doing a good job, you're going to get rewarded for it. You're going to get more job, you're going to get more work to do, more cool work to do, promotions, raises, and so on. The people who are at home could slowly kind of fade away. So that I would suggest for the people at home, find a way, set up a schedule with your boss, make sure, hey, we're going to have these, connections every X amount of time. Maybe come in once in a while, even if you're remote, just come in, make sure they remember who you are, get in front of them, keep them up to date what you're doing. So you have to have a game plan that you don't get left behind, and they know what you're doing and they know what you're up to. You want to do the same things with colleagues too. You want to make sure they remember you. So when you're working on a project, you're not left off of it. Now, what I would say for people in the office, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Get in front of the managers, get in front of decision makers, get in front of important people who could kind of do something for your career. Because with less people around, you're going to get greater exposure. And with greater exposure, you're going to have more opportunities and you're going to learn more. So you see where I'm going with this? This is an interesting thing that's developing. We're in this time where change is the new constant. Things are going to be changing. Now, I doubt the hybrid 2-3 day a week, and then you have some people who just remotely is going to stay forever. I think companies are going to tinker with it. I think some companies after 6 months are going to say, I want everybody back. Kind of like a bait and switch, like, oh, yeah, don't worry. Yeah, 2-3 days. That's great. Yeah, fine. And then 6 months later, nope, get back in here. I bet you some companies do that. I bet you some companies say, you know what, this is working pretty cool. Let's keep it going. In fact, This is so good. I don't even think you have to come in 2 days or 3 days. You could come in whenever you want to come in. And a lot of companies are doing that. Twitter said you could work from home forever. Uh, Ford, an old line, what you would think of a very conservative kind of company, basically said, nope, you guys all could work from home, but come in if you have meetings and things like that. So we're going to see this kind of, it's going to change. Be prepared. I don't think it's going to be set in stone. You're going to have some companies that something blows up and they're going to go, see, this is why remote doesn't work. Everyone back. Others, like during the pandemic, so many companies, all these tech companies, Amazon, Apple, woo, fantastic business. So they may still do it and just keep it going. But you want to be prepared. You want to kind of look at it strategically. You want to think, what is right for me in my career? What is right for me in my life and work balance? What's the best arrangement? That's the first thing. You got to figure that out. Then from there, you need to advocate for yourself. Like I talked about, Sharon, you read about. You have to act, you have to advocate. So if you're a remote person, as I mentioned, you have to find ways to have people remember and include you. If you're in the office, you want a strategy. How can you get in front of the right people so they can see you shine so you can get raises, promotions, and advancement? If you have health issues, if you have mental health issues, if you have sick family members, if you have childcare issues, um, anything else, you want to kind of say to your boss and your manager, hey, let's talk about this. Let's figure this out. Let's get a flexible schedule. Even if you're remote, you might need a flexible schedule. Let's say you're working remote, but you have to drop off your children at daycare or school and you have to pick them up a certain time. So you don't want to be in the spot where they call you and like, where the hell is Jack? Where are you? Oh, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this on LinkedIn. So, they say, where are you? And they're going to just think you're goofing off. So you want to kind of make sure you're on the same page. So you want to let your person, your boss know, hey, what I like to do is take my son and daughter to school, drop them off and pick them up, but I'll make up that extra time. So you're all on the same page. You see where I'm going with this? You want to use this time, a time of change, a time where things are different, a time where people figure things out. And then that kind of time is a little easier. 2 years ago, no, because 2 years ago, everything was set in stone. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear about your mental health issues. They don't want to hear about working remote all the time. They don't want to hear about hybrid. They just want butts and chairs and that's it. But we're not at that time anymore. We're in a different period of time that's changing quickly. So you want to take advantage of that. You want to be strategic. And I think the people who navigate their careers this way are going to do way better because then they're going to have something that fits with their lifestyle. If your lifestyle is such where you need to, you were just stressed out of your mind, having to juggle, childcare, with work, with commuting, and now you don't have to, you're going to be so much more successful and you're going to be happier and more productive. And the cool thing is the companies are going to be more productive because if you have a workforce who everybody's doing what they feel comfortable doing, they're going to appreciate it and they're going to work harder and smarter and better. Conversely, what you're going to see is the companies that are really just jerks about it and just like, nope, 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 nope. This is what you have to do. They're kidding themselves. Trust me, as someone who's been a recruiter for coming on 25 years, I know it's hard to believe because I'm so youthful looking. so, so, so being a recruiter for so long, I've definitely seen when people, it's interesting. I've spoken to so many folks who, when I try to recruit, they'll say, no, thank you, Jack. It's not about the money. I really appreciate all the things my company's doing for me. And then they'll kind of list what the company is doing. And it looks the similarities are that they're taking care of this person. It could be childcare. It could be maybe they're helping with, you know, with health issues by, giving a gym membership or whatever the case may be. Yes, I still have a landline. Yeah, I do. I don't know why we still have a landline because I guarantee it's going to be a robocaller. Yeah. So should I pick up and we'll talk to the person who's trying to give us a warranty on the car or, oh, okay, they hung up. So I have no idea what I was just saying now. So, so what you want, so what happens is that I try to recruit them. And then what ends up happening, they tell me all the good things the company's doing. And even if the money is significantly more, they won't move because it's more important that they feel love, appreciation, and gratitude. And it goes a long way. On the other hand, when I call up a person and want to recruit them and their company's not treating them fairly, they're like, "What do you got, Jack? Tell me. I'm all ears. I'm listening to you. What job do you have for me?" Why? A lot of times is because then they'll tell me what their company is doing and how they're being mistreated, how they're not being appreciated, how they're not being taken care of. And then also not so much the money too. It's like, you know what? Heck with these guys. If they're not taking care of me and they're not valuing my time and my effort, I'm going to go somewhere else. And for companies too, they'll think they'll be clever, but they don't realize if people are at home 5 days a week or 2 days a week or 3 days a week and they're unhappy, they're going to be looking for recruiters. They're going to be looking, for jobs. They're going to be networking. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a whole bunch of people on your payroll who have just mentally checked out. They don't care. It's even worse than mentally checking out. They're trying every day to get the heck out of there. And do you think by having a whole bunch of people in your company who want to get out of there, is that going to make you a better company or worse company? Easy questions. Make it a worse company. Because you can't run a good company when everyone has one foot out the door. So what I would suggest, and for managers and executive leaders who are listening to this, it's on both sides. This is not just, rah, rah, rah for workers. This is just being intelligent about how this is playing out. So if you're a leader, if you're a middle manager, if you're an executive, you really want to think, how can I retain and attract employees? And one of the easiest things to do is just ask and then listen to them. Listen to what they want and need and work with them on it. Does it mean you have to give everything? No, because sometimes you can't. But the ones you can, try, do it, give it a shot. If it doesn't work, say sorry, it didn't work. We'll try something else. If you're an employee and you feel you're not being treated fairly, you don't have to take and be angry about it, resentful. Fight for yourself. Ask for what you want because we're in a hot job market now. And I think, barring any crazy things happening in the future, it's just going to get hotter and hotter. And this way, you are holding the card. So this is your time to do it. And I get it. I'm not going to pretend it's easy. It's always awkward to have these conversations. But to succeed, you have to do uncomfortable things. You have to get outside of your comfort zone. So you have to go out there. So I thought I'd just do like 5-10 minutes because it's heading a holiday weekend and I'm not even sure if anyone's around. So whoever's around, I appreciate you listening and watching. I hope this helps. I hope this gives, we're just trying to give ideas out, some color of where I see things, what's happening. And it's not, the reason I know this is not because I'm so smart, because I'm not, I'm kind of dumb, but is that I'm constantly, when I'm writing my articles, doing the homework, doing research, talking to people. So I'm in a unique spot that I talk to people all walks of life, all levels, from CEOs to janitors. No, I'm not exaggerating. Across, you could just check out my everywhere, across the board, across the country, across the world. As a recruiter, speaking to HR people, hiring managers, job seekers, so that you get a real sense of what's happening. So I feel very, very honored and humbled that I could bring this information and share it, because most people, like, they're in their lane, know their company, and just, doing their thing and not really aware what else is happening. So I'm in this weird kind of, position that I'm speaking with so many different companies and so many different industries and writing about it and learning about it, that I could share this with you. So I hope it's helpful. I hope this gives you some food for thought, and hopefully I'm empowering you so that if you were hesitant about speaking up for yourself, maybe not from this video, but maybe hearing it from other people, hearing again and again, then you feel more confident to stand up for yourself and fight for your rights and fight for what you feel is the best way to live your best life and have a life and work balance and be happy. So I'll leave it on that. Have a great 4th of July weekend. Thank you so much for watching. It's great. And I'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks.